All right, KNES 310, Fall 21. I'm talking to you guys. So first test, there's lots to improve on. I had 3 perfect tests, so that means it's possible. We had 3 perfects. I think one of the reasons why maybe the grades could have been better is I had all new questions. So maybe some of you might have got a hold of some screenshots with some old tests. Sorry, got to change them up every now and then. For those of you that just didn't quite understand, that's why I'm here. This morning I was in class at 7:30 hoping to get some people to come get some help, and yeah, nobody showed up. So I just want you, and you don't have to. I told you don't have to, but I'm here to help clarify, okay? So the best thing I can advise you to do is watch the lectures and watch them and listen, because I'm going to tell you everything, all the concepts that are going to be on the test. I play poker with my cards out. You're going to see my hand, okay? So watch, learn, and another thing too is one of my commandments, kinesio commandments, as I play it, is don't assume, okay? And why is that so important? Is because unlike law, if you're going to practice law, you got to go to law school. And if you're going to practice medicine, you got to go to med school, but not necessarily in fitness, exercise, and human movement, right? A lot of you have some experience in fitness. Maybe some of you are certified as a personal trainer, and that's great. But the problem is that sometimes it can lead to bad verbiage, bad techniques, misunderstandings of things that take kind of a upper class level undergraduate level to understand, especially illusions, okay? Especially illusions of human motion. So don't go into this stuff like, well, I already know it. Try not to go into this material like, oh, I've already passed that, okay? My job is to get you to see this on another level, okay? And so some of those bad habits may I gotta re-educate you sometimes to kind of see things. Remember, one of my first videos was illusions, that you may have heard that, or you may have learned that looking to your left is called left transverse cervical rotation. But guess what? I can have this by also doing this. It looks like it didn't move, and that's what's important about global and local references, right? So in other words, globally and locally, they both agree. But here, globally and locally, they don't agree. Globally, my eyes and my nose didn't move, but locally it did. I'm looking at my left shoulder. How do I go from looking at my sternum to looking at my left shoulder? Left transverse cervical rotation. How do I go from looking at my sternum to looking at my left shoulder? Left transverse cervical rotation. So understanding those global and local concepts can maybe help us understand why things are what they do not appear to be. Okay, so to summarize, to try to put it into simple terms, a lot of you were introduced to joint motions just with the distal segment moving about the proximal, kind of that global and local references and agreeing on what each other sees. And that's great. But remember, 4 types of motion, 2 of them super easy. It looks like it's moving and it is. Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. If we want to look at the knee flexion, knee extension, it looks like it's moving and it is. Those are usually the ones we get introduced to. It looks like it's not moving and it's not. Boy, how simple is that, right? Just standing there and, well, nothing's moving. Then the 2 harder ones. It looks like it's not moving, but it is. That's this example with my cervical vertebra, with my neck. Or it looks like it's moving, but it's not. Again, global and local. If I had a halo around my neck where I couldn't move my neck if I tried, you know what a halo is, right? It prevents, when people have cervical injuries, it prevents them from moving their neck because they're not supposed to. Well, I couldn't move my head. I couldn't look at my left shoulder if I tried, okay? So globally, if I did something like this and move my trunk, if you say left transverse cervical rotation is when I look to my left, you may mistakenly give credit to the cervical vertebra for that motion. It looks like it's moving, but it's not. So globally, I look to the left, but I didn't do it locally because of neck motion. See what I'm trying to get to? So your next exam is October 6th. That's coming up soon. Remember, we pushed back because of the hurricane, and I asked you guys to study ahead, right? So your next exam is Wednesday, October 6th, in person, in-house. And that way we can all be together and I can clarify questions for you. 7:30 in the a.m. and it's on ankle and sub-talar joint structure and motion possibilities. I just watched the lecture. Just watch the lecture and contact me if I need to clarify stuff. Your knee joint is going to be on there. Detailed hip. The trick with the hip, acetabulum, right? Ilium pubis, fused, synarthrodial joint. The femur, 4 bones, 3 fused, 1 not. Hip motion is going to be when the femur moves about the acetabulum or when the acetabulum moves about the femur. Okay. I had a student ask me this question today. It was a really good question. What's the difference between hip and pelvic girdle? Well, hip motion is just the femoral acetabular joint, just like the shoulder is just glenohumeral joint. The shoulder girdle is all those other articulations that are connected, sternoclavicular, acromioclavicular, scapulothoracic, floating back there. Your pelvis doesn't float. I can independently move my right and left shoulder girdle. My pelvis, I can't. It's all connected. We need stability down there, okay? So, but it's the same concept. Your sacroiliac joint is kind of like your scapulothoracic articulation. Your pubic symphysis articulation is kind of like your sternoclavicular. And then obviously you have your femoral acetabular, which is like your glenohumeral. But the key thing here is that when I move my pelvis when I move my acetabulum about my femur, the whole pelvis kind of has to go along for the ride. That's where we get the concept of pelvic girdle rotations, that when you move the acetabulum about the femur, the whole other side has to move with it. So pelvic girdle rotations is going to be when the acetabulum moves about the femur. Now, we still call it hip motion, you know. So you're going to have abduction, adduction, abduction, adduction. You're going to have flexion, extension, cap and bottle concept that I emphasize. But when the acetabulum moves about the femur, then we can call it pelvic girdle rotations. There's reasons in the lectures that I tell you we can do that, okay? So you're going to have ankle, subtalar, knee, hip, pelvic girdle rotations. We're going to have anterior, posterior, right, left, lateral, right, left, transverse. Just think of it as how can a basketball spin? What are the options? It could roll forward, anterior. It could roll backward, posterior. It could spin and roll to the right, right lateral. Spin and roll to the left, left lateral, right transverse, left transverse. Different ways a child can spin. Hey, kid, do a front roll, anterior. Hey, kid, do a back roll, posterior. Hey, kid, do a cartwheel to your right, right lateral. Hey, kid, cartwheel to the left, left lateral. Hey, kid, spin to your right, right transverse, spin to your left, left transverse. There's a lot of commonplace examples to kind of show these concepts, okay? So pelvic girdle rotations and then trunk motion. Okay, trunk motion, flexion, extension, right, left, lateral, right, left, transverse. A lot of similarities in verbiage. One of the reasons we have a little bit of different verbiage in the trunk and pelvis is because it's the concept of having one of something versus two of something. So if I'm showing this because I have them up here, but when I'm communicating wrist motion, well, I got two options. So I have to say, I have to communicate side, then I communicate joint, then I communicate position or motion. Right wrist flexion, left wrist extension, right wrist flexed, okay? But when you're talking about the trunk, you only got one of them. So right and left literally means to the right, to the left. So right and left of the wrist means my right wrist or my left wrist. Right and left of something you have one of means to the right, to the left laterally, or to the right or to the left transversely. Right and left means two different things in two different dimensions, frontal versus transverse. Anterior, posterior doesn't matter. Sagittal doesn't matter. So to the right, to the left. Now dip, baby, dip. Yeah, okay, I stopped. So that's important to understand. How do you understand? Watch the lectures. Watch them again. Watch them as many times as needed. And then contact me if you need clarification, okay? Then I have some reviews, midterm review 1, 2, 3, 4, some sample questions and stuff we go through. And again, I'm going to be in class either 153B, although if people don't start showing up, I'm just going to hang around my office. So anybody that needs extra help, come in the morning. So I hope that helps. We're all on the same page about what your second exam is going to be on. And the students that do really well, I had, again, 3 100s. So it can be done, and you can do it. Just, just study, watch the lectures, and come to me for clarification, all right?